Today's episode is brought to you by Wild Bill's Fireworks, PopChevy.com, TheForkIn.com, the Kent Rose Foundation, Ron Leddit, Stacy Shedd, Kay Wilson.
Gina Rose here with the Kent Rose Foundation and the KRF Arm Drop Drags. I'd like to personally invite you to join us for the 2026 KRF Arm Drop Drags on October 23rd and 24th. This is our annual fundraiser held at the beautiful and historic Combs Airport in Hager Hill, Kentucky. This has always been more than just a race. It's a race with heart and a purpose. Your support helps us provide scholarships and tools for students, build an all-inclusive park, and supply hygiene products, clothing, and more for kids and families across our region. You can stay up to date on all of our events and programs by visiting the Kent Rose Foundation Facebook page.
Today we welcome our special guest, Kent Blazy.
All right, Harold, we're back again.
We're back again.
There you go. Man, I am so excited with our guest today. I've known this guy since when I first came to Nashville. And I actually kind of had a chance to sign him before he blew up and went into outer space, and I was waving at him.
Yeah.
But anyway, I'm so thrilled to have my good friend Kent Blazy here today.
Hey, way to go, Russ. I knew Kent when he was one of us, you know.
Still is.
We go way back, and of course, I've been a fan of Kent Blazy for at least the 70s, and that's when most of us came to town. But our producer Wade Smith is with us.
Yep.
Hey,
and
Wade.
Russ Davidson, and we're so happy to welcome Kent to Behind the Shed today, and we're gonna hear some of the great stories from him firsthand.
Yeah, man. Yeah. So I will start out, Ken. You're from Paducah, right?
No, actually, I grew up in Lexington, but the true story is I was born in Woodstock, New York, before it was Woodstock, New York.
Wow.
And even back then, it was an artist community.
Yeah.
The Hudson Valley Painters, and it was a little town. It's still a little town. But I would go to somebody's house and they'd be working on a big painting about this, like that wall, or they'd be saying, I wrote a book, let me sign it to you. And as a young kid, it was like, man, I'd like to make my living doing something like that, you know?
Yeah.
And my dad worked on the assembly line at IBM, and I knew I didn't want to do that. So back then, IBM meant I've been moved. So that's how we got to Lexington, Kentucky.
Gotcha. I don't know why I thought Paducah. I was convinced. I meant to look it up last night, and I forgot, I must admit. But so we first met, and this is the way I remember it. You came by to see me at the Music Man. I think I've been working with Harold for a year or so. This would have been like 87, 88. And a few years before, you had that Gary
Morris song,
record.
Headed for a Heartache.
Headed for a Heartache.
Yeah.
And which I love, by the way. I still love that record. And you played me a song I think the very first time we met, called If Tomorrow Never Comes, the demo.
That's correct.
And man, I knew then I should have done a deal with you. I'm kicking myself even today for it. You know, that was one of those little copyrights. You know, but anyway. So, but before we get all down there, we always like to talk about the path everybody's taken to the music business and exactly how they got here. And, you know, and you're probably going to talk the next hour because there's a long path, I know, through all the stuff you've done, but that's what we want. So
right.
Kind of tell us, you know.
So growing up in Woodstock, I had thought maybe I would be an artist, you know, painting and drawing and stuff like that. I was pretty good at it, but my sister was way better at it. And she actually became a professional photographer, artist, and did hand painting, photographs, and stuff like that. And so I had to find something else to do because she was too good. So I started writing poetry, and some of it got in like high school yearbooks and stuff like that. And I thought, well, somebody must like what I'm doing if it's getting printed and things. And so when I got a guitar, I didn't know anybody else's songs. So I just started trying to put my poetry to what chords I knew on the guitar, and it kind of developed from there. Wow. And started writing some songs, and of course learning other people's songs, playing them on the turntable and slowing them down or whatever you had to do. But sure. And then I started some bands when I was in college, and the bands would play my original songs along with other songs, and it was kind of like I was getting some feedback that people liked that, so it kept encouraging me to write songs, and I just kept at it.
Wow. And so how did you make the trek into Nashville from starting out like that?
So I got a gig in a roundabout way being the band leader for Ian Tyson up in Canada.
Oh, yeah.
And so Ian, 4 Strong Winds, Someday Soon, great songwriter, great performer. So I was the leader of his band. They were all Canadian except for me, so I still don't know how all that happened. But Ian was very nice in letting me open up the shows doing my original material, and he's very encouraging, and he kept telling me, you need to move to Nashville, and I don't know if he was trying to get rid of me, in the band or what, but he actually was working on trying to get a publishing company in Nashville started with somebody he knew where I could write for him. So I left Ian in probably late 79 and went home for a week or two, and Sonny Lemaire is a really good friend of mine from Exile, and so we had been on the road together before he joined Exile, and so I told him I was in town. He said, well, come on by. I went by, and he had a new member of Exile with him, Mark Gray.
Wow.
And so Mark says, first Mark sang me some songs and totally blew me away. Great singer, great songwriter. Yeah. And so Mark said, well, play me some things you're writing. And so I did. And he said, well, you just need to move to Nashville. And he said, if you move down there, I'll help you any way I can. And I thought, well, okay, Ian's talking to me about this. Mark Gray's telling me to move down there. I think it's probably time that I did. So that's what I ended up doing, was moving down August of 1980. Wow. Actually, it'll be next month. Well, it'll be 15 days from now that I moved down there. It was 101 degrees. And I thought, I had no air conditioning in my car. And I thought, well, I think I moved to hell. But so I got here, and Mark helped me out a little bit. But Mark was in the middle of a very serious substance abuse that he continued a long time. So sometimes he would call me at 1 o'clock in the morning to come write with him. And sometimes he'd call me at 1 o'clock in the morning to make me get in his Jeep and drive all through the empty places where they're putting in 440. Yeah, it was wow. Life scaring. Wow. But just knowing he believed in what I was doing was good, and he took me around to some people. And then back then in Nashville, you could just about walk in any door and play somebody a song. It was just an amazing time.
Absolutely.
And so I met this guy who he kind of liked my songs, but he really needed a tape copy guy, Jim Dow. And yeah. And so he hired me to do tape copies that he could pitch to producers and record labels and stuff like that. And so when I wasn't doing that, I'd be playing guitar, and he heard me playing guitar and said, well, you need to play on some of my sessions that I'm doing. And I got a little recording studio in my home, and I was helping him do some stuff. And then he said, well, we ought to write a song. So we started writing a couple songs, and one of them ended up being Headed for a Heartache. So Jim was an amazing athlete. He'd gone to IU and been a ball player. And so back then we had 20 record labels with 20 artists on each label. Those were the good old days. 400 people to pitch songs to, because most of them didn't write. Yeah. Yep. And so Jim played on the Warner Brothers softball team. Every record label had a softball team. It was serious stuff. Yep. And Jim was really good. And one of the guys on the Warner Brothers team was Gary Morris. So during a baseball game, Jim pitched him a cassette of Headed for a Heartache.
Boy, there you go. Boy, that's the old world.
Man, I'm telling you, when I tell some of these stories, it's going to go, man, where did this all go?
It's absolutely.
And
that is so good.
And it was so good. And right then I kind of figured out how the music business worked in Nashville. It's different kind of ways of getting things cut. And so that was probably the first year and a half that I was in town, and had a top 5 record. I wasn't expecting that. I thought it'd be like a 4-year town. Yeah. And so I got lucky and got some other cuts by different people, and
You're probably thinking, man, this is easy.
Well, I kind of did. What was so funny is so Jim knew I was getting some things recorded, and he said, well, you need to go meet with somebody. He said, CSAC pays right up front, and you really need to go talk to them about maybe signing with them. So I met with the head of CSAC, and I played her some songs, and she stopped right in the middle of it and said, you just need to move back home. Which I wasn't expecting that, because I already knew Harry Warner because he had liked some of my songs in Kentucky. So I thought, well, BMI, ASCAP, CSAC, they nurture young writers. Not so much.
Yeah.
And so it kind of crushed me, and I went back and told Jim, and he said, well, you can't listen to everybody. You just got to do what you want to do. And right after that, I got headed for a Heartache cut, and got about 6 things cut in 2 or 3 weeks. And I'm like you said, man, this is easy. But he ran into the woman later on, and she said, did that guy move back home? He said, no, he's got a top 5 record. So you never know. But so I thought, well, man, this is really easy. And it's getting cuts and stuff like that. And then I don't know what happened, but I kind of hit a cold spell. And so because of that, I started a demo studio. And if you sing like me, you need demo singers. And so my demo singers who couldn't get a record deal were Randy Travis, Faith Hill, Martina McBride, Joe Diffie, Billy Dean, Doug Stone. All these people were singing demos for me, Trisha Yearwood.
Yeah.
And so that's kind of how I met Garth Brooks.
Yeah. Because
he wanted to be a demo singer. He was cleaning churches and selling boots and thought he could make more money singing demos.
Wow.
So you just never know how things happen in the business.
No.
So he came over and he brought me a cassette of 6 songs and played me a cassette. And I loved what I heard. I said, I'll start using you on demos. And when he was walking out the door, he said, well, I'll write a little bit too. I thought, well, he's cleaning churches and selling boots. He's got a big future ahead of him. Yeah, I'll write with you. And so we set up a time. Actually, it was crazy. I just moved into this house in Green Hills, and it was getting near Thanksgiving. So I was moving in and had family coming, and it was going to be Christmas. And then all of January, I used to write by myself. So I told him, I can't do anything till February. Now I'm like, what the hell is that thing? But so we set up February 1st. He went back and he called me up and said, February 1st, let's do that. So we got together February 1st. And I didn't know anything about him. We didn't have Google or anything back then, and he was a guy cleaning churches and selling boots. But I knew Bob Doyle was managing him, and he'd quit ASCAP. And I know Bob and money, and if he quit ASCAP, there must be something.
Yeah.
So I was sitting on my couch working on some ideas for this kid that I knew nothing about, and he came walking in, and when he come over in November, he was wearing shorts about like me and a T-shirt and whatever. Well, he came walking through the door, and he had a big cowboy hat on. He had a big leather duster on. He had big cowboy boots, and he came walking through the door. It looked like John Wayne coming in or something. Like, who the hell is this guy? And he walked up to me, and he looked down on me on the couch and said, I got this idea. I've run by 25 writers, and nobody likes it. And I looked up and I went, gee, thanks. And he kind of got a little angry. He said, well, don't you want to hear what I got? And I said, yeah, play me what you got. So he played it for me. I said, I love this idea. It's what my mother used to tell me. Tell the people you love how you feel about them while they're still alive. And he said, well, what's wrong with it? And I said, well, you're killing somebody off in the first line of the song. There's really nowhere to go. So he said, what would you do? And I told him, and the first verse just kind of fell out. But before the end of the day, we had the song written, and he went up in my office and did a little guitar vocal. But we pitched it around town for over a year. You were one of the people that heard it. There's numerous publishers turned it down. One publisher turned it down 2 different times. Tim Dubois kept sending me back to this same person. Play that song again. She's going to get it, but she never did get it, which is fine with me.
Yeah.
But
and I don't want to interrupt, but I remember with the day you played me that song, I wanted to sign that song. You wanted a publishing deal.
Right.
And I always want to know somebody before I sign them to a deal. And I got to say, I know this is right. That song killed me that day. I know that much. So I got that part right. Even if I messed up the rest of it, but go ahead.
Well, and the one thing I want to say to you is at that time when I met you, I just lost my publishing deal, and you were very encouraging, and every little encouraging thing helps you to keep going.
Absolutely. Thanks for saying that, by the way.
Well, and
I got a bunch of those myself, so yeah, go ahead.
Well, we know how it is, and you were great at that, and knowing what you were doing and who you were working with and all that was a big inspiration for me that you liked what I was doing.
Yeah.
And so
go ahead.
The crazy thing was, so we pitched it around town a year, pitched him around town. Everybody passed on him for at least 3 times, every record label. And then he was very discouraged, and I don't know if he's ready to go home, but he was kind of, I don't know what I'm going to do now. And so one night a guy had a showcase at the Bluebird Cafe, and the guy had a band there. He had record labels, producers, the whole bit for his showcase, and he didn't show up for his own showcase.
Are you kidding?
Yep. I won't mention names, but he got a gig in Ireland, and he left and went over there instead of having the showcase, but didn't tell anybody. I mean, we didn't have cell phones or anything like that. So they called Garth and they said, can you come down and sing at least one song? We got all these people here and there's nobody doing anything. So he went down there, and the song he played was If Tomorrow Never Comes. Lynn Schultz was in the audience to hear the other guy, and Lynn came up to him. He said, hey, I'm with Capitol Records. I know I passed on you for the 3rd time this week, but maybe we missed something. Why don't you come back in? So he went back in. He got a record deal, and it was his 2nd single and his first #1.
I remember.
Way to go.
Yeah.
Well, you couldn't hardly miss it if you were living anywhere in the United States at that time. Anywhere you couldn't miss that song. It was everywhere.
I know. That's true. It just kind of exploded out of the box.
Yeah, man. Boy, that's a great one.
What's so funny is I've got a CD called Me and Garth, because I'm lucky enough to have enough songs to put on there. But the record label wouldn't give him a party for having a #8 song on Much Too Young. So my wife and I had a little party at our house in Green Hills, and all we could afford was a little cake about this big with a #8 on it. But there's a picture of him and I, and he's holding the cake, and he's holding up his finger. And he told me that night that If Tomorrow Never Comes was going to be the next single, and it was going to be #1. And it wasn't supposed to be the next single. Nobody Gets Off in This Town was supposed to be. But he does that all the time. He tells you what the future is going to be, and the future shows up. It's pretty wild.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's cool, man. That's way cool. Golly.
But that's the music business. You never know how crazy things are going to show up and change in a heartbeat.
Wow. Golly.
And if that hadn't happened, there may not have ever been a Garth Brooks.
Yep.
If the Bluebird night hadn't happened.
Yep. That's true. God, I didn't know any of that part of the story. That's crazy, man.
Yeah, crazy stuff.
So then after that started happening, and you had Tomorrow Never Comes, continue on. I mean, let's go down the path a little bit.
Well, I still kept my demo business because there's always that drag time between getting paid and so I just kept meeting these different artists and got to work with some of them like Billy Dean and Rob Crosby, Trisha Yearwood. I basically had started using her when she was at Belmont because she sang like Winona, and everybody wanted people that sounded like Winona. But when I met Garth, I kept telling him, I've got this girl you need to meet. She's just my favorite female singer. She still is. And he's like, I got this girl. And I'm like, okay. So every time he would come over for 6 or 8 months, I'd tell him about, I got this girl. No, I don't need to meet her. So I wrote a duet where they had to come in and sing on the same microphone at the same time. And when they got done, Garth was just kind of freaking out. He said, what you got going on? She said, I got nothing going on. I'm working at Country Music Hall of Fame. I'm working at a record label as a secretary 2 days a week, and I got nothing. And he said, well, my career's just starting to take off. If it does, I'll help you get a manager, help you get a record deal, help you get out on the road. And he kind of helped her to do all that. I just never dreamed they'd get married. I just
man.
want them to sing together.
Wow, I didn't know that story.
Yeah, and so there may be an ex-wife in Oklahoma not real happy with me, but she's rich.
Yeah.
So that's how that all ended up. And
Wow.
another crazy thing just out of nowhere.
Yeah, man. But not really out of nowhere. I remember one time, I think it was Doug Johnson was trying to find somebody for A&R, and Tony Hazel and I were talking to him, and either Tony or I remember it being said, you ought to call Kent Blazy. Every artist that's had a #1 record this year, it's a new artist, has been working in his studio for the past 5 years.
You know who told me that story was Larry Shell.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I forget, it might have been Larry. We were all in the room together, and I went, that's true. Every one of those people had been through your studio. They're working.
Right.
Martina and Trisha and Garth and, on and on and on. That's crazy, man.
Well, it was a cool time because that's how people got a record deal. They would sing demos for people. And the one thing it was doing by having to sing so many different demos, you found your own voice. And also you got better and better at singing. And so somebody like Harold would hear somebody go, well, who is that? And help them get a record deal because they were such a great singer. And now it's kind of TikTok.
Yeah.
So it was a good time in Nashville.
Yeah, man. No kidding. We talk about that a lot on here. Yeah. And not to diss now. We've talked about this. He gets me every time on that because I'm not trying to. It's just a different world.
It's just a different world, right? And we didn't have Pro Tools. We didn't have auto-tuning. Joe Diffie could come in and sing 6 songs in 2 hours and nail them all. Trisha was the same way. Yep. And it was just amazing to be working with these people. And you would go, why don't they have a record deal? And they all got record deals.
They did. Mm-hmm. They absolutely did. That's crazy. So are you still in touch with all these people? Are lots of them still?
Lots of them I am. Yeah. Every once in a while I'll do some shows with Billy if he's in town, or go down to Florida where he is, and he's still great, plays great, sings great. And it's just these relationships that you had. Now some of them, they got big and you never heard from them again, but some of them you're kind of glad that happened that way.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, we know that story. We of course, Harold and I stay in touch with most everybody we all worked with or try to,
right.
And that's a cool part, the fraternity of it a little bit too.
Yeah, there really was that back then. And, to me, it was just a magical time on Music Row back then. And even in the Chris Christopherson days, there's a great book that one of his co-writers wrote, Rebels in the Alley or something like that, about them just walking down the alleys and pitching songs to anybody they could. And that's kind of how it was then. And now they've just taken the magic out of Music Row to me by putting up condos and all that kind of stuff. There's not that camaraderie that there was. When I got to town, you could walk down the street and maybe run into George Strait walking from one meeting to another, or Reba McEntire, or another writer that you wanted to write with, or somebody be coming out of a meeting and they'd go, hey, I just played Buddy Cannon some songs and he didn't like anything I had. He's looking for this. If you got it, call Buddy. And I mean, that was all. It was such a fun time.
Yeah, it was. And we've talked about this before, but I can remember in those days when Alabama was on fire and Shania was happening, Billy Ray and stuff. He was up there all day long listening, and people came in to see him, and he took the appointments and listened. And I wouldn't, and I hear that a lot from some of the younger, publishers and stuff in town. I know the guy that was running Warner Chappell wrote an open letter. I don't know if you saw that open letter a couple of years ago.
I did.
We got to start being able to pitch our songs. This putting 10 people in a room, and we got to write everything for the album in the next 3 weeks. And not listening is a mistake. We have these really great catalogs. It was Ben Vaughn wrote that.
Yep.
And they just don't do it so much anymore. But I mean, I thought I listened a lot. We've talked about his cut-off refrigerator box. I don't know if you ever saw it in his office, that big box full of tapes.
Sure.
I'm going to keep this one. I'll go back and listen. And he did, and that was only part of his gig, was listening, but it was the most important part to him, so. Go ahead.
Yeah, well, like Jim Dow ended up producing some people, and he was in the same office as, who's the first guy that did George Strait? Mavis.
Yeah, Blake Mevis.
Blake Mevis, yeah. And so they had their boxes of people we know and people we don't know. And that's what they would kind of draw from. But it was, everybody kind of listened, you know, and like Garth, people don't believe it, but he said he would listen to like 3,000 songs for every record that he was doing. And I've been out at his house where he's got stacks and stacks of garbage bags full of CDs of what he's listened to and ones he hadn't gotten to yet. And I said, man, how do you do this? He says, well, I'll try to listen 12 hours a day. And I said, well, how do you know when you're burned out? He said, I've got 5 songs that I put on, and if they don't hit me, I know it's time to quit. And the crazy thing, one of them was one of mine, but he never cut it. Well, you love it that much that it helps bring you back to what you're listening to. But that was the way it was. And then all of a sudden, when we came around to MP3s and stuff like that, I think the A&R people just got overloaded because it was so easy to just send stuff. But how can you listen to, 300 things that come in one day? Yeah. You probably ran into that too. Yeah. And,
you just get burned out.
You get burned out really quick. Yeah. So, it's just an ever-changing world in the music business. Mm-hmm. But now, I was looking at 10 songs I wish I'd written that NSAI sent me, and I was looking down, there's maybe 200 songs. And there were so many of them that had 6 writers, 8 writers on it. And I'm like, what's going on here? Yeah. How does that work?
Yeah, I know.
How do you divide up the money, especially with streaming? Here's your 3 cents. Or
how do you make a decision on a line?
Well,
with 6 people, I mean, they're doing it. It seems to work for them. I don't know how you do that either. It's just a different world.
But what could the money be if there's 8 people on a song? If it's not a hit.
Yeah. I can tell you.
Well, there you go. Well, I can tell you what it is with just 2 or 3 people on a song, or one person on a song.
Yeah.
And it's different.
Yeah, it is. It's we were talking the other night with Harold would love to make another record, find an artist he really wants to work with, and make a record. And we were laughing about whenever he would sign any of those acts or find an act, typically, he wanted everybody to hear what he was thinking. He'd call me and come so excited he couldn't sit still,
Right.
And I've just, I don't know. I wonder if that even exists today. I hope it does. I just can't tell. With some of the younger people in the business that I know, I can't tell if they do it the same or not. If they get, or if they go, well, they've got this many streams and they got this much on their Instagram. If it's, and I know that's got to be part of the decision. I'm sure it is. But is it 90% of the decision, or is it, does anybody say, I've got a song and a record, like he did with Toby or Shania or any of those things, my God Almighty, he'd say, listen to this. Is it still the same?
I don't catch that excitement like that.
I don't either. Yeah.
Like somebody like Harold was just so excited about what he was doing. And that's another thing. It just diminishes the energy of what's being created because of that. Mm-hmm. And I'd love to have more people like him still around, but it's a different world. And it makes it tough for songwriters.
Yeah.
Well, it seems to me that the really driving force is always the song. That can crank you up quicker and faster than anything I ever experienced.
Absolutely, yeah.
Today's episode is brought to you by Wild Bill's Fireworks, PopChevy.com, TheForkIn.com, the Kent Rose Foundation, Ron Leddit, Stacy Shedd, Kay Wilson.
What was the Garth? Was that the first really big record, or was the Gary Morris record?
Well, that was the thing. Gary's was a big record. It ended up being top 5, but you would get cuts by people, Mo Bandy, Forrester Sisters, whatever, that were having #1 records, but they weren't selling but 70,000 albums or whatever. Yeah. So it wasn't like you were making money back then either, which is why I started a demo studio, is to have an extra income coming in.
Yeah. Sure.
And so it was mind-boggling when all of a sudden, what was it, Billboard started going to computers instead of calling record stores and finding out who was selling. And all of a sudden, Garth, who really was unknown, was charting these numbers that Billboard's going, my God, we haven't seen anything like this before. So that kind of changed the whole thing, I think. When
the SoundScan era,
SoundScan, when that came in and it was really telling who was selling. And I think that changed everything too. And that's when country music just exploded because people had kind of put it under the rug and rock and roll was the thing. And all of a sudden it's like, look what these people are selling. Yeah. And
I guess it took the place of the one stops and where you could really get a true reading of what was selling.
Right.
Yeah.
How does this sound scan work?
Harold knows better.
It's
than
a
me.
monitoring system mainly. Yeah.
But they would keep track.
I never was in that area, and I can't speak to it, but it was another form of the advent of electronics. You know?
But it was something you couldn't fake.
You
knew
couldn't
what really
fake it.
sold.
It was for real.
Yeah.
That's right.
it was like a UPC.
Yeah.
Every time an album was sold, it was registered with the sound scan. And so all of a sudden, these people that were country artists, they were finding out we're selling all these records.
Yeah.
And that's when Nashville kind of exploded in the 90s, you know, like 89 or 90 when that started happening.
Yeah. Well, up until that point, and of course I was young at that time, so I didn't know the whole system, but they could fake how many sales they has, and record companies would do that to publicize an artist and make them look bigger so they could sell records, even buying back some of their own product. I've read in books I've read and stuff.
Right.
And at that point, again, there was a barcode, and it was actual numbers pretty much. And nobody knew what those people, a lot of them were really selling until then, right, Harold?
That's right.
Yeah, because you always knew we sold 100,000 of this, or, whatever it was, this week. So they really knew, and you could tell. And that's how we used to measure songs for us. We'd look at the radio chart, and you know how that worked.
Right.
And you go, look, this record's flying up the charts, man. Ooh, I hate that song. Then you look at SoundScan. If it was selling, you'd go, I'm wrong. People are buying it. Or, yeah, look, they're not selling anything.
Right.
So you could kind of tell,
But even, prior to 80, the sales were not that many, really.
Right.
200,000 units was a huge record at that time.
Yeah.
And Alabama's really the one who came in and
They really changed
They
all
changed
of
that. That's right.
I remember distinctly on my homes in Alabama, and it played like a one, but it was a top 10 record. But Jerry Bradley, who was president of RCA at that time,
right,
and Joe was in marketing and promotion, and they had this incredible team of people, and he said, how much do you have invested in this album? And I told him, and so he gave me twice as much money as I had invested because I had done it. I was telling Russ last night, we were having a conversation that I got Chris Wilkinson to arrange strings, and we did that at 2 a.m. in Berry Hill to get a studio that we could afford.
Right.
Because I was paying for it out of my pocket at the time. But anyway, all that worked out. But I'll never forget, he told me, I said, I really, really think we've got some hits on here. And I didn't have any reason to think that. Hell, I'd never had a hit before.
Right.
So, but we did open up a door, and he said, well, if we sell 200,000 albums, it will have been a good deal for RCA and for you. Mm-hmm. And so, in 5 months, it was gold. So then it exploded after that.
Yeah.
Second album was 4 million in no time. And Feels So Right and all of the
Yeah, it changed.
Great song.
Changed everything.
Changed everything. Yeah, sure did.
Did he give you a bigger budget for the
He
second?
did.
Yeah.
And after that one, he said, it's whatever you need.
Yeah.
So that's a great place to be in for the artist and the producer, because producers get paid on sales too. They don't get any money for airplay. And, so it all worked out. It was great. We had a great run, and I guess it's approaching 100 million sales.
I know.
in that area. Anyway,
That's amazing.
Yeah.
it is.
And who would have ever guessed back in those days we'd ever do that in the country?
But they
music
did
business?
open the doors for a lot of good bands, and
Yep.
and I think they were one of the main artists. The band was that made all of that possible during the early 80s and mid
Absolutely.
80s.
Yep.
Well, that made me think of a story that might crack you up. But so there was a group in Lexington, Kentucky, that they played in the bowling alley, and they played a lot of my songs. Well, Harry Warner was with BMI, and he was traveling all over, I guess, to talk people into paying what they're supposed to for playing songs for BMI.
Right.
And he loved these guys, and he brought them down, and Jerry Reed was really infatuated with them. So they brought him down, hung out with Jerry and stuff, went in the recording studio, and I was kind of with them for part of it. And they called me up one day and said, well, they're pitching us the RCA, and we're really excited about it, and it's looking pretty good. And Harry was all excited about it. Well, then they called me up and said, they signed some other group named Wild Country or something. I think it was a smart move.
Yeah. Of course, Wild Country turned into
Alabama, yeah.
wow.
The Alabama band,
Yeah.
and then it turned into Alabama.
That's great. That's funny. Golly.
But that's
They had a great band in Paducah, though, the Exile.
Yep.
You mentioned Sonny Lemaire
Yeah.
and Mark Gray, and you can't overlook J.P. Pennington.
J.P. Pennington, they're still out there rocking.
Yeah.
They are.
it's-
Boy, what a great songwriter he is.
Yeah.
Well, one of our biggest singles was Take Me Down. That was
And the
written
closer you get.
closer
Oh,
you
yeah.
get.
Yep.
It was huge.
Yeah.
Platinum.
Yeah. That's funny how everything was so interconnected like that, connected to this and that.
Mm-hmm.
I found out years later, Sonny Lemaire, who I never knew to 2000 for some reason, is from my hometown. Went to the same high school I went to.
Indiana?
Yep, Jeffersonville.
Wow,
That's where I'm
okay.
from. And Jim Dahlia mentioned
Yep.
is from New Albany, the town next to me.
That's right.
I didn't know that for years, It's like, golly.
I love Jim. He managed an artist I signed, Sammy Kershaw.
Right.
And
That worked out okay.
it worked out
Yeah.
great. Yeah.
Yeah, man. That's
We had platinum records on Sammy, too.
What a great singer.
yeah, man.
Yeah. Yeah, good singer. Good
Mm-hmm.
singer.
Yeah. So let me ask you this. This is an interesting question. So all these people are coming through your studio in those days who turned out to be great big stars. Did you ever have aspirations of making records on being the producer, or were you just trying to make money at the time, stay alive? Or
Yeah, pretty much just trying to stay alive. And, a couple of people asked me to do some production things on them. One was a guy, Paul Martin, who was in Exile, and just a great singer, great guitar player. And he'd left Exile. And so we cut some things on him and pitched, and MCA was interested in him, but they wanted to be the producers of the deal. So,
Gotcha.
and then the other guy was Wade Kimes, who ended up getting a deal on Asylum.
yeah,
And so those were a couple of things, but being a producer just got in the way of being a songwriter to me.
in those days, it's funny. I said we weren't going to go. Here I go again. But in those days, I lived in the alleys of Music Row,
Right.
Because I knew all the back doors to all the studios and all the producers. And somebody'd say, "Hey, Larry Butler's doing something. And he's working on Kenny Rogers or whatever it was." And so we head over there and go on the back door and try to get up and they, what are you looking for? You got your songs, yada, yada. I can't tell you the number of times I left a song for a producer at the back porch, when he came out and got it. Or we got a guest tomorrow. Dwayne Allen from Oak Ridge Boys is going to be here tomorrow.
Tell
and
him
I was
I
telling
said
Wade,
hey.
I will. I was gonna tell Wade. I told him earlier. Dwayne would call me. They were on the road. Oak Ridge Boys were starting fire back then. I'm gonna bring it up tomorrow too. And he would call me and say, "We're in town. I'm gonna be down on Music Row." I think he lived out in Hendersonville.
Right.
He said, "I'll call you when I get in the parking lot. If you got anything, we bring it down." So I'd get a cassette or CD or whatever time and run down and hand them to him. I never sat in an office with him. I don't know if I've ever seen him standing up except for on TV, because but he was serious about songs and wanted to make sure when he was down, he got songs,
Well, he was another one back. This is probably the maybe even 84, 85. He would call me up about songs and tell me how much he liked some of them and have some of them on home. And I'm like, that's another guy that keeps you going.
Yeah.
And all those little steps that when you think about giving up, they come through and keep you fired up about what you're doing.
Yeah, man.
And you were one of them.
Well, thank you. Well, I think we all loved the same thing.
Right.
And it made it easy, because you never knew when you were going to hear one, and there were, I can remember, it's like I've said before, I don't remember exactly what the first check looked like.
Right.
I don't remember, but I can tell you, I remember the moment I heard that song, exactly what, or the moment that we were doing a demo and it came back through the speakers, it's like, those are the things we remember. The day you finished the song, you go, man, I think I got one here. Yeah. What was your first check on? Well, something, but that's right.
Because it's the song.
Hey, man,
Absolutely.
that's it.
Yeah, man.
And
3-0 count, and here comes that cassette on the fourth beat.
Man.
And that was the kind of thing where people were listening. And
Sure.
These days, I mean, you hear all these amazing stories about song pluggers, especially in the 70s and 80s, what they would do to get a song cut. And these days, I think they just basically keep books for the songwriter.
That's what I understand.
And they're not really pitching the songs. And like this one kid of mine that he wrote for me for a couple of years, Corey Batten, he had 2 #1 records. He was trying to get a publishing deal, I think in 18 or something, and the 2 questions that they were asked was, who's your track guy and what artist can you get to?
Yep.
And he's like, oh, what's your job?
Yeah.
And so he ended up teaching school. So,
Yeah.
it's just one of those things. And, we were talking about the 90s. To me, there were so many, I call them pull over to the side of the road songs.
Yep.
Like Ships That Don't Come In, or Walk Away Joe, or, all these things that I don't really hear, like you're talking about with the lyrics that just kind of rip your heart out, like there were back then. But
have you ever heard a song that made you pull to the side?
Yeah. One of them was Walk Away Joe. One was The Song Remembers When.
Yep.
I was like, oh my God. Being a songwriter.
Oh man,
that meant so much to you.
What was his name?
Hugh Presswood.
Presswood.
Yeah.
New York City song.
Yeah, New York City songwriter.
Yeah, great guy, great writer.
Yeah.
Well, the first one I ever heard that made me pull off the road was
Sing Me Back Home.
Sing Me Back Home.
Well, that would do it.
And I had to stop. I did.
Yeah.
I was not in music. I was working with radio at that time and doing commercials and jingles. But I wanted to be in music so bad. And I had to pull off and listen to Sing Me Back Home.
Yeah. Haggard could do that too.
He could do that.
Yeah.
He could.
Yeah, man. Yeah. I guess, we're sitting here talking about how it used to be some, and, I guess that still happens. It should. I
hope so.
I've heard a handful in the past few years I thought were really great. Just it feels like, I don't know, it seems like there's not so many that stick out as they used to. And it could be a function of my age. Shit, I'm ancient,
Right.
But I don't know. Every now and then.
Those songs were timeless, though. It wasn't like they were going for a certain age group, Song Remembers When, or Walk Away Joe, or Ships That Don't Come In. Anybody could identify with those. And now it's more of a younger audience that identifies with a different thing.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. It's a whole different thing.
Like, I don't think anybody cut If Tomorrow Never Comes these days.
Oh, yeah, I think so.
I don't know. I think they might.
Oh, well, that's so well written that I think so.
But the other thing, he was 25 years old when he sang that. how many 25-year-olds would sing something like that now?
Yeah.
I mean, some of them
Well, that'd be a problem.
yeah. Some of them are 40 years old still singing about spring break. You know?
Yeah, that's true. That's true.
Yeah.
But I just think there's not a 25-year-old artist out there that would sing that and he grasped the concept of it. I mean, when we finished writing that day, I thought he's 50 years old. You know,
Yeah.
he just seemed so much older than his age.
Yeah,
and
man.
So I think there's a lot of things that were big hits that wouldn't get cut.
You know,
these
I
days.
think Kent, if people, instead of trying to make something happen, sometimes if you would just let it happen, it would do the same thing except bigger.
Yeah.
You know, some of the most successful things I ever did were just by, hell, how did that happen?
Right.
You know, and same thing. You're talking about
Sure.
a cassette. I'm flying from LA to Nashville on a plane, and a flight attendant spoke to me and said, well, I have a friend that sings. Well, you know, everybody's got a friend that sings. So I said, well, have him send me a cassette. Well, I happen to have one with me. So, I mean, what are the odds of that ever happening unless you let it happen? You know,
Yep, you're right.
So,
And that somebody had done their homework.
You didn't say who it was. That's important.
it was Toby Keith.
Sure. Okay,
Yeah.
go
Right.
ahead.
Well, there you go. And Alan Jackson, the same
And you know
thing.
what? The cassette had 5 hits on it. It had 3 number ones and 2 top 5s.
I love it.
Isn't that great?
Yeah.
Because it just happened. It was not planned. I didn't know the labels had turned him down and these songs. you
Right.
know? What somebody told you, you can't write or sing.
Right.
And hell, he's just left 3 number ones on their desk. You know?
Yeah.
Exactly.
That's crazy.
Yep. But that shows the due diligence that the woman who was the flight attendant was aware of who you were.
She knew more than the label knew.
Right. And I kind of miss that these days too. It's like a lot of the young people that I run into, they don't care what we did. It doesn't matter. One told me, it doesn't matter what happened in the past. It's all what happens now.
Yeah.
And you just kind of go, okay.
Yeah.
It's-
Well, you know,
Well,
go ahead.
You know, I mean, if I was a young artist coming up, I would study exactly how Garth Brooks did everything.
that's right.
Yep.
That's right.
And it's a different time yet. It might not work the
It
same
makes
way.
all the difference in the
You know,
world.
yeah, you know what I'll tell you, and I don't think I've said this on the show. I may have, but I was working on a project for a label. 3 guys, you know, Joe Schmay, Biff Watson, and Ed C. did these tracks of Bacharach songs. And I said, we need to get some legacy singers and some young artists on this record. Well, I got a bunch of the legacy people who want to sing on it, and these kids are going, who? Who's that? And I had a manager say to me, man, my artist didn't know anything older than 5 years old. And I'm going, you're kidding me. And I discovered a lot of that along the way. You know, I was stunned by it.
Same here.
You know, and you know, I'm an old guy, but I know music from the 20s and the 30s and the 40s, my grandparents' records and all that stuff.
Yes,
and
sir.
it's amazing. I think, to me, if I was going to say there's any issue today, and it may be the best thing in the world, I'm not saying it's bad, is that there's such a plethora, so much stuff happening right now that it's hard to go back and listen, you know, and hear stuff that happened before unless you actually try. You know, maybe that's part of it. I don't know.
Well, part of it to me was when we had records, even when we had CDs, I'm sure we all read who played on the records, who wrote the records.
Yep.
We studied it like you would baseball
That's
cards when
right.
you were a little kid. And that way we kept up with what was going on and who was doing what and who we needed to listen to. And then when we went to streaming, they didn't know what they were listening to. They didn't know, other than the artist, who wrote it, who played on it. It didn't matter. All that stuff just kind of got lost. So it wasn't like they even had that capability of going back and studying who wrote that one that I like, or who played on that, who's the bass player that played on that. And that makes it a different world too.
Yeah, absolutely.
You'd be amazed at how many normal, average listeners want to know that information. It's just amazing. You're one of them. You know who played on everything, every album you got. I guess.
Yeah.
And,
And that's how you learned, and that's who you knew to listen to. I'm going to buy everything James Burton ever played on because I want to learn what he's doing. And Roy Nichols from Haggard's band. You know?
Absolutely.
Well, and the point with Wade, it was well taken to me in that, you know, he's quite a bit younger than us, and he knows music from my era and my parents' era, you know, that he knows more about than I do. Because he wanted to know. That's, to me, that's, you know.
It's that hunger for one.
Yeah, but you can, I know there are all kind of theories about it, and I'm 94, so I've listened to some tapes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then 8 tracks.
Yeah.
And then DATs for about 15 minutes, and then CDs. But I'm telling you, people, they want to know that, and it's also educational in that makes you wonder, like now, why it takes 12 people to write such a bad song.
Right.
Well, now, wait a minute. They're not all bad.
But I understand. Yeah, we're not saying
you know what I'm
everybody,
saying.
Yeah.
Yeah, but you knew that starting out.
Yeah.
Because you had that knowledge. You got it somewhere. You know, you love the poetry and you love the artistry of it.
Yeah.
And well, if I can't do that, if I can't play bass, I'll go to keyboard. You know, if I can't do this, I'll do that.
Right. Yeah.
And it's still all part of it. But you didn't need a lot of help. All you needed was a little encouragement.
Yep.
And to talk to some people that knew the difference in that.
Right.
And that's still one of my favorite sayings. You got to know the difference, you know.
Yeah.
But that's not hard. Hell, if you work at it, you can figure that out.
Yeah.
Well, there's so much stuff being bombarded on you these days, you know, and now with AI, you don't know what's real and what's not, you know, and the same with, now Suno's the big thing everybody's using on Music Row. And, you know, it's got its good points, it's got its bad points, but it gets to the point where I taught a college class, this is 15 years ago at least, and there was 30 people in there, and I asked them what instruments they played, and they all said they played computers.
Yep.
So that, to me, I foresaw it back then that they didn't even want to take the time to learn how to play a musical instrument or how to write lyrics or whatever. They were just letting the computer do everything, and that's kind of where we're at these days with a lot of the music.
And the results of all of that is, if it's really good, it's probably a computer.
Right.
Yeah, we've had that conversation.
Yeah, we have.
You know, though, but I always contend that because the AI and the computers and stuff are all going out and listening to what's already out there, and then by probability, you know, and by statistic, this is good. Right. So they're going to go for that every time and just kind of rearrange what's already there, which is, you know, to me, this is my opinion, something real unusual and different that nobody was looking for, you know, is not going to come out of that. Now, I could be wrong about that, but those are the biggest things we've ever been a part of, are the ones nobody expected or saw coming.
Exactly.
You know?
Well, there is that, you know, the one thing, I was at a thing the other day that Sharon Vaughn was talking at, and she was talking about how once there were Pro Tools, once there's auto-tune, listeners get used to that, where, you know, you listen to a Rolling Stones record where it's not really in tune and the vocal might not be there, but it's got that magic. But these days, everything's got to be perfect, and music isn't perfect.
It's not.
And that's the same with what Suno turns out. You know, it's perfect, but it's not perfect. You know, it sounds really good at first, and then you go, I don't really know if that is exactly how it should be done, you know, but they're used to everything being that way. So I think their ears have gotten trained to a different thing than our ears were trained to.
Sure. I think so, you know.
Tell him the Beatles story.
Yeah, well, Jim Ed was doing the thing. Jim Ed Norton, when, I don't know if you know John Ramey, but John Ramey and Brad Martin were on Curb Records, and they had been making records, and who they were working with, and they both wrote for me, so I was kind of involved. But, you know, was really good about everything being absolutely perfect, tightening and tuning. And he pulled out, I don't even remember what Beatles record it was now. and I should remember because I'm a huge Beatles fan. And he said, I want you to notice right here at 1 minute and 16 seconds where Paul actually doesn't sing the same word as John, and he's singing harmony. And then I want you to notice where he cuts off and goes out of tune a little bit right there at 2 minutes and 14 seconds. And he pointed all these flaws out in a Beatles record.
Right.
And he said, but look how magical
That's
it is.
It's the magic.
You know, and boy, what a great lesson, you know. It's like, wow, I never noticed those things before. You know, I've been listening to those records since I was a kid. So, you know, it's just capture magic.
It's the same in the film industry. If you notice now, movies are so perfect. It doesn't even seem like a movie now.
Right.
Yep.
I mean, they have everything so high definition. You can see a zit on Tom Cruise's face.
Yep.
Well,
That's why they all have to do Botox and stuff, because the cameras are on you so close to what they were.
Oh, yeah.
You know.
That's how I look like this. I do Botox.
Well,
You need more.
it's really affected my singing.
yeah.
You'll
We'll
love
pro to
this,
you.
though, Kent. You'll love this. A friend of mine and ours, back in the 60s, there was a group, Larry Henley and Dean and Mark Mathis, and they were the New Beats.
Right.
And
Bread and butter.
Yep.
bread and butter. And so later on, when that was over, Dean, who played in a band with me, he was 14 and I was 19. So we went way back. We know all about mistakes and stuff. But so he started trying to be a producer, you know, and he started with K-Tel, and they started this huge TV campaign to re-record all the hits, especially the orange
in the 70s.
Oh yeah, K-Tel record.
Yeah, he did 500 recordings, just redoing all. And one of the things he had to do was to listen to every single that he reproduced and do the same mistake that was in the single.
Right.
If it was bad, out of tune, whatever, you know, that's the record had to be there, was not acceptable.
Right.
Yeah, it wasn't the right.
You said you could do this. That's not in. So
We got to be out of tune there.
But it was magical at the time.
Yes.
And it was so big and so huge and so financially
Lucrative. Yeah.
You know,
that's right.
you were telling, I missed that when you were telling that story the other night, but that's right. I didn't think about the fact you got to reproduce the mistakes. So the record doesn't sound the same.
You redo the bad stuff too.
Yeah. Golly.
Yeah.
That amazed me, but he told me that, and I know he's right.
Yeah.
That's just those little things that make it different enough. Though,
Music
too,
is
you know?
it is magic.
Yeah, it is. It's magic. I mean, that's what I tell every young songwriter I meet. It's like you start the beginning of the day. Now, I would say with a page of paper, and by the end of the day, you got something on it. That's a song that wasn't there the day before.
Yep.
Of course, I still write on paper, and they look like I'm crazy. But you know, the one kid came over who's a big artist now, and the first time we wrote, even you write on paper, and I said, yeah. I said, what are you going to do when we have a #1 record in the Country Music Hall of Fame? Wants your lyric? What are you going to give him? The computer? So the next time he came in with paper. I don't know if he still does. But
Great lesson.
yeah.
That's funny. Oh, yeah. Boy, it has changed.
So how many songs now have you had recorded totally?
I don't even know. I mean, the crazy
Thousands?
part. Yeah, probably.
Yeah.
And the crazy thing is, Garth said something the other night at a thing we were at that I've had more songs recorded by him than anybody, and I don't know how many that is, which is kind of crazy that I don't count them. But
That's okay.
yeah, it's just I just keep moving forward.
That's
Well, you know, when you're
man,
doing
that's
arithmetic on a piece of paper and pen, it's hard.
Yeah, that's right. But Kim Williams, he could tell you how many albums he sold up till the last minute of his life. You know, I just sold another 100,000 records, and now I'm up to and it's like, how do you keep up with that stuff? But,
Hey, do you guys think that we'll see more phenomenons like Alabama and Garth?
Oh yeah.
and Toby. I mean, do you think we're going to see those? Continue to see those in this?
Might not be exactly the same, but that's human nature. That's the way it is. You know.
But I think part of the phenomenon was how much they sold, and how big they were. And I don't know.
We don't have a measure for that anymore.
You don't have the measure. I just got a platinum record in the mail, and I said, I called the person at admins. I go, how did they come up with this? And she gave me this number of, well, it's this, so many of this, and so many of this, and so many of this. And I'm going, makes my head hurt. But how you can manipulate all that stuff with the streaming and all that. But that's a different world than it was when
that's not the real world.
No, it's not the real world. But it's the world of now, I guess.
It is,
Yep. And we got to deal with it, you know. So.
Yeah, that's right. We have to figure out, reinvent ourselves.
You got to make it better.
Yeah, man. Yeah. So what's new for you now? Well, moving forward, what are you going to?
Well, I just was out in Tulsa doing some things, and the woman who runs Leon Russell's studio, Teresa Knox, she's an amazing being. She bought the studio. Gary Laney's her engineer from Music Emporium and Sound Emporium, and they've just got an amazing facility out there. And I was over there doing a show, and she said, well, I'll give you a free day to come in and record if you want. And so I flew in early, got up at 4 a.m. and flew in and got to the recording studio and just recorded all day. And I thought, this is just the bare bones naked record, because usually my records, I have a band that plays with me. And so all of a sudden, this album came out of nowhere, and a lot of them were songs that I'd been writing in the last 6 months that I didn't really feel like they would work with a band as much. I don't know if it was more like an acoustic record or whatever. So this was like a chance to go in with these songs and see what they're like as they are naked. And, there wasn't any Pro Tools. Gary Laney said you needed to put a thing on there. Warning, no Pro Tools, no tuning was used on this. It is what it is. And so that's what I'm doing. But part of these, I'm going in to Blackbird the 1st of September and cut. And so I was wanting to see how some of these songs were holding up. If they can hold up with a guitar and a vocal, they're going to hopefully sound better with a band. So that was kind of giving me a easy way to get ready to go in and record the next things that I'm doing.
Oh, that's cool, man.
Yeah.
Good.
So just keeping writing, keeping recording, because I love it, you know.
Man. Yeah, you got to do that.
Isn't that great?
Yeah, man.
You got to love it.
Out touring around, and people show up, and
yeah, man. Yeah, that's for sure. Yeah, I'm sorry, I'll go back for a second because I've been thinking this. As we were talking earlier, and I hate to keep moving forward on this, but as you talk about going in the studio and stuff, I'm starting to see some more real studios again with consoles. Whether that's important or not, I don't know. But, the one thing we were hitting on earlier, we never really hit on, was the camaraderie of the community in the days we did it. And the fact that everybody came together and everybody was like-minded, even if we didn't love the same music or whatever. There was a community, and it's like when something started bubbling under, you knew it as fast as I knew it.
That's right.
Most of us as fast as he knew it.
Right.
This thing's happening over here. This thing's happening over there. It was all contained in one little place, And
it was a competition, but it was a friendly competition.
Yes.
And it wasn't like there's a lot of cutthroat stuff going on. Everybody was pulling for everybody.
Absolutely.
Songwriters were pulling for songwriters.
Yep.
All the great studio musicians that we all got to work with. And now with Suno, what are those guys doing, Yep. And I could see using Suno to see how you wanted a song to end up being, that you could show the guys, but let them put their own magic into it.
Sure.
And a computer doesn't have the magic that a human being does.
No.
You get in the studio and they go, well, I would do this or I would do that. And it changes everything.
It's really, really good.
You can't substitute the emotional part.
That's what John Willis was talking about.
Yeah. It's really, really good. It's just not really, really great.
Wade, I don't know if you were ever in Nashville during this period of time, but Kent, you were here, and Russ, you were here, and probably some of the other guys, I don't know if Matt or the engineers were, one of my favorite things ever in Nashville, and I don't think I ever missed a one, was the Harlan Howard birthday bash.
Oh, yeah.
They're coming together, everybody.
Everybody.
Man,
yeah.
it was so good.
Yep. Everybody.
And there would be thousands of people
Some
not in the business that just wanted to be part of that.
Right.
You know?
And you'd see people you hadn't seen in 6 months or something because they're doing their thing and you're doing your thing. And it was just so much fun.
It was great. We got a new guy, just got a deal or a girl.
Right.
And it was just it was a part of the education of all of it. You know, it's great. It's great.
Yep.
I miss that part of music world.
I do too.
Yeah.
People with people hanging out, everybody together. Everybody knew most everybody, and we were all connected to some degree. I think that's probably the thing to me is the not connection anymore. It's such a disconnected kind of thing, And where I'm going to do a part over here on my computer and I'll send it to you and you'll put a part on it and guys in a room together, groups, everybody together at one time or twice a year in town. It just it was a little
that's
different.
when I go in and record, we cut live. I sing and play and everything's cut live. There's no overdubs. I might go in the next day and overdub lead guitars or something like that, but I want everybody in the room playing at the same time.
Yeah.
And that's, to me, when the magic happens, it's all that energy of everybody coming together.
Yep. Absolutely. And, it's like when you're programming tracks, and I've done it, I'm sure you've done building stuff. It's as big as you can imagine, one piece at a time.
Right.
But how many times are you in the room with players? Okay, let's run it down. Somebody plays something. Nobody, whoa, stop. Let's do that.
Exactly.
And it changes the whole direction of the recording,
That's right.
So, it's again, not better or worse, just different.
Or put that lick back in there.
Yeah.
But it's more exciting.
Yeah.
I've built tracks, but it's only going to be as good as you are. Where if you got another guy coming in who's going to add something to it, or 4 or 5 other pieces, and they're all going to add their own little personalities, it's going to be something way better.
Yeah. I know you were aiming at me with put that lick back in there. On Achy Breaky Heart, I tried to take the lick out and do something different, and they kept begging me to leave it. Thank God I didn't change it.
Thank God.
Yeah, no kidding. I told you I'm really good now. Anyway, man, it's sure been great to hang out with you today.
Yeah.
Golly, it's so good to see you again.
It's an honor to be with you again. And this guy, like I said, you kept me going sometimes.
Well, man, I didn't know that, but thank you for that. And I got to tell you, hearing those songs, golly, because you didn't hear it If Tomorrow Never Comes every day, but you could hear it any day of the week in Nashville in those days,
It's such a beautiful song.
Oh, thank you.
That's just one of them he's written. We need to run the list here.
I know it.
That was the beginning of something really huge.
Yeah, do that album.
Yeah.
Right.
Or that series.
Yeah, but you were at the front end of that thing, and God, it doesn't get any bigger than that. It does not.
Well, like there's one I do on my show, Somewhere Other Than the Night, that was our second number one. Who would cut that these days?
Yeah.
I mean,
who knows? What a great song, though.
I know. It's just a different world, and and he could pull it off, But I'm just honored to be here with all you guys doing this and talking about the old days, and let's see what the future brings.
Let's do, man. Well, you got to come back when you have another big hit with your other 7 writers, and we'll bring them. I'm kidding. I'm joking.
We'll bring them all. We'll have to get more chairs, but
We can do that.
Yeah, man. Just thanks for coming, man. It's so good to see you again.
Same here.
We'll do this again, I promise you.
I look forward to it. Thank you, guys.
Thank you, Kent. We appreciate it.
Blazy from Behind the Shed.
Today's episode was brought to you by
Wild Bill's Fireworks, PopChevy.com, TheForkIn.com, the Kent Rose Foundation, Ron Leddit, Stacy Shedd, Kay Wilson. Behind the Shed podcast featuring Harold Shedd was created by Wade Smith. Original music and sound by Russ Zabatson. Director of photography and editing by Matt Holbrook and Focus Media. Cameras by Mike McKee. Associate producers are Brian Rawlings, Chuck Bedwell, and Jason Morris. Produced by Wade Smith and Russ Zabatson. To support the show, please like and follow us on YouTube, Facebook, Instagram, TikTok, or become a member on our Patreon page. You can email the show at behindtheshed@gmail.com. Thank you for listening. Tune in next week as we go Behind the Shed.